Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. In this video, I'm going to break down two trades that I took recently and show you how to time reversals using sequential SMT. Starting from the higher time frame, Monday traded at all-time highs. Personally, I prefer to wait until Monday fully plays out to get a cleaner read on the week, because after Monday's delivery, it becomes much easier to frame and recognize the AMDX. However, I know some of you prefer trading almost every day, so in this case, I would have only traded from this CB for a retracement to take place, or from this BC for a potential swing low formation. Moving forward, as you can see here, Tuesday opened and ES immediately ran higher, forming this daily sequential SMT by taking out this previous daily quarter high. Not only did price form sequential SMT, but as you can see here, NQ also found resistance inside this CB, which made this heavy repricing lower during Asia and London session. After NQ displaced below this BC right here, the internal order flow is shifted bearish. However, you have to keep that in mind that it does not mean the higher time frame is also shifted bearish, because as you can see here on the daily time frame, until price still finds support in this area, in this BC, the order flow still remains bullish. So once the internal order flow is shifted bearish, the next step is identifying areas of interest where price is likely to trade into and potentially form a swing low, because we know this repricing lower is currently only a potential retracement until the higher time frame tells us otherwise. Since Monday traded in a relatively tight range, we can classify it as an accumulation day. Because of that, we can anticipate Tuesday to manipulate by repricing lower. My attention was immediately drawn to these two BCs right here. Why these BCs? Because of two reasons. And one of these reasons are because these BCs displaced through a previous cycle high. And the second reason, because price previously found support in this area, which means the algorithm is clearly references to these POIs. The second area I was monitoring was this opening gap right here, because I really like using these ranges as future targets, but also a potential reaction or even reversal points. And as you can see here, price displaced through these BCs, forming a CB right before the open. And another important thing to notice is that price stopped right in advance of this opening gap and also right above this sell side liquidity, engineering even more sell side liquidity. So my plan going into 9:30 open was to see price manipulate back into this CB, form a high, and then expand lower into this opening gap where price could potentially reverse and complete this future market maker buy model right here. So when it comes to the lower time frame, what we can see here is that after the open, price repriced lower, forming a micro sequential SMT relative to ES and taking out the sell side liquidity resting below this low. Now the fact that we didn't take out the sell side right here, but instead formed a low right here, gave me even more confidence that this is likely to be a future market maker sell model in the making. Once we form this low at the right time based on the algo path, together with the sequential SMT, price immediately rejected and started to expand higher. Now, since we already know that there is a 1 hour CB where we expect price to form a high, you could also use this setup to take longs back into this area of interest. Looking for longs in this location is also ideal because, as you can see here, we were below the true session open and also below the true micro session open. After this repricing higher, price eventually mitigated the CB that I outlined earlier. I was specifically monitoring this CB right here, but I want you to give a homework assignment and investigate where this CB formed and why this particular CB caught my attention. But let's move forward. After the third micro opened, what we can see is that price opened high into the premium array that I outlined, forming a micro sequential SMT at the right time based on our path and rejected right away. Now this is exactly the type of reaction that you want to see before a reversal takes place. And here I drop down to the 15-second time frame. And what we can see here is that price not only rejected the premium array, but also displaced through the highest level of the imbalance that I outlined on the 1 hour time frame. During this displacement, as you can see here, we also formed this CB through the highest level of the imbalance and also through the previous cycle high. And this happened at the right time with sequential SMT. When you have this many key elements aligning and confirming your idea, that's when you can be confident in the setup. Because at the end of the day, we always want to enter trades from the highest points possible or the lowest points possible in the dealing range. I have entered on this wick right here, stop loss above this key high right here, targeting this low right here. And the best thing about these type 1 entries is that right after this candle, I was already break even. We balanced out this CB, rejected and expanded lower immediately. At this point, my entire position became completely risk-free within just 2 minutes. And you might wonder why I closed my position right here, and there are 2 main reasons for that. First, these lows formed at the true opens, and second, I trade on funded accounts that have consistency rules. So using this trade as an example, I had a 20 points stop loss and executed it with 1 mini contract, meaning I was risking around $400. As you can see here, I was already up nearly $2,000, and my usual daily target is somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. And let's just stop here for a minute. If I could give you one piece of an advice, it would be this: be content with enough. Because if you entered this position and didn't take profits where I did, look what happened next. Price rejected the opens again at the right time based on our path. And even though we know the overall target is down here, this rejection could easily cause a retracement all the way back into your entry point. And this is exactly what I mentioned in my previous video as well. I would much rather enter a position, become completely risk-free within 2 minutes, close the entire trade within a couple of minutes and pay the trader, than sit here watching price retrace all the way back into my entry point before eventually delivering to the final target. Especially for beginner traders, this could become a very emotional few minutes. Enter during the first stage of the move and exit at a logical level. Quick in, quick out, and you are done for the day. The second trade that I took was based on the exact same logic as the previous one. Price mitigated the opening gap that I outlined earlier and took out the engineered sell-side liquidity resting below this low. At this point, price had already reached our points of interest, so now all we have to do is wait for a confirmation from time that this is the right point A recognition. And what we can see here is the second micro open low, forming a micro sequential SMT at the right time, followed by a displacement higher. And now if we drop down to the 15 seconds, what we can see is that inside of that displacement leg, there was a BC forming right here through the true micro session open and also through the previous cycle low. I entered on this retracement right here, stop loss below this key low, targeting this internal high right here. I only took this trade on my challenge account since I personally don't trade my live accounts after a winning trade. But this once again was a quick in and out with a quick management. Once price balanced out this BC and expanded away in this candle, I was already break even here. I managed to close this trade in 4RR within just 4 minutes. Simple, quick, and yet effective. With that being said, I hope you find some value in this video, and I will see you in the next one. Be safe.